Burt Lancaster was, in the eyes of the public, an icon of rugged masculinity with a powerful demeanor. But after he passed away, as his family was clearing out his belongings, they discovered a wardrobe that had been locked for decades. When the lock was finally opened, the entire family was stunned. Inside were not clothes or ordinary keepsakes, but a strange archive. 40 mysterious letters beginning with the symbol P, a collection of nude photographs of famous male actors of the time, and even top-secret files listing individuals being monitored by the US government. What did these items hide? Why did Burt keep them for so many years without destroying them before he died? Burt Lancaster grew up in a poor working-class family, amidst the noise of the streets and the smell of cigarette smoke. His father was a postman, and his mother was a homemaker, and that childhood soon taught him a crucial lesson. He had to stand on his own 2 feet and protect himself in an unforgiving world. Before he came to Hollywood, Lancaster worked on the high bars of the K Brothers Circus. The acrobatics not only forged his steel-hard body, but also honed his discipline and extraordinary endurance. A serious accident injured his hand and forced him to leave the troupe. Even so, the legacy of his circus years turned him into one of the few actors who could perform dangerous stunts without a stunt double. With a personality that wasn't afraid of confrontation, Lancaster was willing to stand up to even the film studios. He cared deeply about social and political issues and often participated in human rights and anti-war activities. To the public, Lancaster was the perfect combination of artistic charm and the reliable demeanor of a trustworthy man. That's why when his family accidentally opened his secret compartment and found the unexpected contents, the shock shattered the perfect image they had always believed in. The secret compartment, a place for ghosts. Deep in Burt Lancaster's study, behind a dark wooden bookshelf, was a narrow door that was easy to overlook. Most guests never noticed its existence. His children called it the Forbidden Zone. Not even his wife was allowed to enter. Whenever she asked, Burt would just smirk, his eyes glinting with mischief. It's a place for ghosts. It wasn't until after Burt Lancaster's death in 1994 that his family decided to remove the cabinet, and the entire room fell silent. It wasn't a mess, but a meticulously organized archive. The boxes were neatly stacked, each labeled in Burt's strong handwriting. One black box was sealed, a few tapes, and dozens of paper envelopes tied tightly with twine. Everything looked as if it hadn't been touched by human hands for decades. When they untied one envelope, the whole room seemed to freeze. Inside was a collection of black and white nude photographs, where light and shadow formed the curves of bodies. The faces were A-list Hollywood stars. Their eyes recognized each person in turn. Marlon Brando, his familiar intense gaze now more exposed than ever. James Dean, with dreamy eyes as if still lost in an unfinished dream. Rock Hudson, the symbol of American masculinity, now appeared with a surprising fragility. There was even Montgomery Clift, his sad face carrying a silent tragedy. Each photo was carefully noted with the date and location in Burt's own hand. The names of hotels, apartments, or closed film sets. They continued to open his personal diary. In the very first pages, Burt confessed to feeling trapped between 2 worlds. One, the perfect masculine image that Hollywood adored, and the other, a tangled emotional life. The following pages revealed a parallel world that the public had never known. Burt wrote about nights stepping out of the flashbulbs of Beverly Hills and into closed-door mansions. There, he had attended secret parties hosted by Rock Hudson. Lancaster described the atmosphere as both liberating and suffocating. Everyone looked wild and escaped the perfect suits that the studios created. Burt Lancaster confided, "I touched the freedom I had longed for my whole life, but I couldn't keep it. Every time I left, I felt like I was leaving a part of my soul behind. And the next morning, when I stood in front of the camera, I put on the mask again." The deeper he delved, the more Burt felt a clear split within himself. On one side were the brief moments of living authentically. On the other, the obsession that everything would be exposed. That fear gnawed at him, turning every handshake and every smile for the press into a painful performance that only he knew he was enduring. The papers also mentioned Burt's frequent depression, with hints of emotional connections with men that were at risk of being targeted by paparazzi. To escape the pressure from the studios, Burt would lock himself in the room for hours. He wouldn't answer the phone or eat, just sit at his desk, facing blank pages and a dense emptiness. No one knows if this was a result of Hollywood's witch hunt era. But when the confessions in the diary were revealed, the portrait of Burt Lancaster suddenly became multifaceted, mysterious, and full of contradictions, far from the hero the world had known. It didn't stop there. The family also found 40 old love letters and postcards. The paper was yellowed, but the ink was surprisingly clear. Each letter was handwritten in a careful script, signed with initials or strange nicknames. What sent shivers down everyone's spines was that, in all the letters, the sender signed with the symbol P. A few postcards had postmarks from Paris, Rome, and Havana, but the content was filled with ambiguous hints. The light on the Seine last night made you feel like you were in a dream I didn't want to wake up from. And we will meet again where all roads lead, but only after the sun sets. The family began to wonder, who was P? A secret location? A private code? Or was it short for Paul, as in Paul Newman? This became even more shocking when one letter contained the line, "The nights in Beverly Hills still follow me now. You are the only one who saw my soul. Even though out there, we must be strangers." Or if P was indeed Paul Newman or another A-list actor, this was not just a hidden romance, but a bomb that would shake the image of Hollywood's most masculine icons. As the letters and postcards were laid out, the family noticed a blind stamp in the top left corner of most of them. At first, they thought it was just the sender's initials, but when they examined it closely under the light, a postcard sent from Havana had faint letters printed on it. Hotel Paseo. No one in the family had ever heard the name. They began searching through old records and discovered that Hotel Paseo actually existed in Havana, Cuba, a luxurious but discreet hotel, famous in the 1950s as a secret gathering place for politicians, artists, and the wealthy. According to the few records, it was a sanctuary for secret love affairs, where clients were guaranteed absolute privacy. The receptionists never asked for real names. All payments were made in cash, and each room had its own exit leading down a dark alley. Among the stack of postcards, the family found a faded Polaroid photo. Burt Lancaster on a second-floor balcony, holding a glass of wine, next to a man with his back to the camera, although his face was obscured. His tall, thin build and prematurely graying hair immediately made everyone think of Paul Newman. On the back of the photo, there was only one line of handwritten blue ink. P. Havana. The summer no one knew. At that moment, the room seemed to freeze. P was no longer just a mysterious symbol. It was a real place. A place that had preserved Burt and the other man's rendezvous. And perhaps the Hotel Paseo in Havana was the final piece of a story that Hollywood had tried to forget for more than half a century. But what really made them hold their breath was located at the very back of the old wardrobe. At first, it looked like a simple wooden partition, covered with a thin layer of dust. When Burt's eldest son tapped on it, a strange hollow sound echoed, different from the solid sound of real wood. He ran his hand along the edge and discovered a small gap on the left, just wide enough for a fingernail to catch. A gentle push, and the wooden panel made a soft creaking sound, as if waking up after decades of being sealed. It slowly slid to the side, revealing a narrow, cold, dark space that smelled of damp wood. Inside was a small, heavy black iron box. The brass lock was tarnished, and the surface was dotted with rust. When they lifted it, dust flew up in small